All right, now. Chill, okay? Let's just start there. Chill, okay? Why don't you guys chill about all the tariff? Guys, everybody needs to just chill about the tariffs, about what everyone, fuck me, I didn't even read this. Everyone needs to chill about what Trump tariffs will mean for a few months with Mike Solana. Huh? They just got to chill out for a few fucking months? Well, I'm sorry. I shouldn't interrupt a woman. I am a Democrat, after all, and we have to cede ground to the fairer sex because they've been so maligned over the years. And I, as a straight white male, how dare I step between her and her lived experience? As a multimillionaire who was sexually harassed out of her last job and then chose, after looking at the paycheck, to go back into business with those people. Who am I to dare say such a thing?
I guess we'll go to Donald Trump and tariffs, because the Trump agenda.
You guess?
They're very upset about, yes, tariffs and DEI and all of that.
Sorry, they? Who's they? I guess that's us, libs, are upset about tariffs and DEI and all that fake stuff. The jab.
Something, we talked about this a little bit before we got to air. I think we both have the same view on it, which is you say what your view
You can't
is.
make me care about tariffs.
Yeah.
You cannot make me mad about them. It's not going to happen. You can scream, you can yell. You're getting it from all sides right now. You're getting this sort of just classically presenting globalists. You're getting Democrats, obviously.
Classically presenting globalist. That's Jew, right? Jews. Okay, so he's flagging Jews right out of the gate. I don't know. Founder of Pirate Wires. The fuck is Pirate Wires? To discuss the ongoing debate over the tariffs or whatever. Let's find out. Pirate Wires. Oh no. Pirate Wires. Oh, it's like it's an online newspaper kind of thing. Yeah, it's not. I thought for a second it made stuff. No, it's just a magazine. I was like, Pirate Wires sounds like a tech industry bro who makes stuff. It's just this. It's just a right wing, like blather post. You know, it's like Daily Wire, but I'm on the edge. It's edgelord Daily Wire.
You're getting more libertarian-leaning Republicans who wanted sort of anti-woke stuff, but not this. And they're all just incentivized to gin up as much hysteria as possible, but it has been...
Sorry, why are they... what is their incentive? Captain Nostrils. What's their incentive? Oh, that they all have to eat?
Years of this now, and it just started. It's the beginning of Trump's term. He has a lot of there's a lot of reason for him to kick up a bunch of chaos and create a bunch of leverage and begin some kind of negotiations that I don't know really anything about at this point.
Well, I'm glad she turned to you, and I'm glad you're telling us all to not worry about it because you don't know anything about it. So you'd be the person, motherfucker.
And it's okay to just sit down and be like, let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's fine to just take it day by day. I don't know why we have to.
Yeah, unless you, I guess, have a 401k or your job will be affected by the tariffs, or you're one of the people in that the layoffs will impact. I mean, if you're just sitting on a bunch of fucking Russian bot money, I guess you can ride it out.
You know, DEFCON 1, as you were saying before, I agree. It's like, let's just take a chill pill. Well,
hey, fuckwad, DEFCON 1 is the worst. You count down. You go from 3 to 2 and 2 to 1.
And still afford them. They're
Wait,
made
calm
in China.
down. Just sim the mer, as Bill Hemmer used to say. Sim the mer. Calm down. They won't, but
yeah, they won't.
It is interesting.
Who's they? the entire political spectrum, according to him. People on the right, people on the left, people with lots of money, people with a regular job, and they're all freaking out. And you're like, fuck, who are you people? I don't even know what you're upset about.
Because Trump always says, I ran on this. And he is doing only stuff he ran on. Really, everything he's doing is a promise made, promise kept.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like sending that Maryland dad who's a citizen to an El Salvadoran jail and shutting down Ebola programs or Alzheimer's research. Remember that? Remember when he ran on that? Fuck are you talking about? He ran on, we're going to have Doge and we're going to have government efficiency and we're going to cut all the waste and get rid of the deep state. And then what apparently the deep state was really working hard on trying to cure Alzheimer's.
This one in particular has been a lifelong issue for Trump. This clip has been circulating on social.
So has rape. He's also been a serial sexual assaulter his entire fucking adult life. That doesn't make it right now.
Yeah, I saw it on X a couple of times. And it was back when we still liked Oprah in 1988, when she was still somewhat self-deprecating and likable. Not her billionaire actress self. Like, what? With Megyn Markle. What? They wanted to know how dark your baby was gonna... What? We don't like that version. However, fat, fun Oprah was great. Thin.
All right. Look, I know that at one point you had a normal collagen fat to skin to bone ratio. And I know you've been looking longingly at Ann Coulter's figure and face for a very long time, and you are trying to get there as fast as you can. And I have my own issues with Oprah giving us fucking Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz. Her choice in men is rather shite. But that will not stop me from saying fuck you.
Too rich to relate to Oprah is not great. So Oprah had Trump on in 1988 when he was, by my math, 41 years old.
Wow.
And listen to this exchange.
What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and...
Yes, we did, and we did just fine. None of this panned out. In this, fuck you, in this same interview, like he was talking about, by 1995, our economy is going to collapse. And not only did it not collapse, it grew exorbitantly past the 90s and was able to withstand 9/11, 2008, and fucking COVID without this dumbass coming in and trying to throw a wrecking ball. It's like he's doing this just so he can say, see, I told you it was going to collapse. Like, motherfucker, you're the one doing it.
Everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And, hey, I have tremendous...
And their entire economy collapsed 2 years later, and their stock market has still not fully recovered.
respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you...
No, it doesn't. It sounds like mafia bullshit, Oprah. You had presidential talk written on your goddamn card back then. I know that. We all know that. That's what this was for. That's why he agreed to come on with the idea that what if he runs for president someday? That was the whole purpose of this bullshit.
Run. Would you ever?
Probably not. But I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country, how we're really making other people live like kings, and we're not. People are tired of seeing the United States ripped off. And I can't promise you everything, but I can tell you one thing: this country would make one hell of a lot of money from those people that for 25 years have taken advantage. It wouldn't be the way it's been.
Yeah. And everyone back then was like, yeah, that's not how any of this shit works, Mr. Chinese steel and all your buildings, Mr. Mafia fucking concrete.
Interesting about that clip, among other things, that was
Is that he's wrong?
in 88, before we decided to really open the floodgates with to trade with China.
Yep.
And then, of course, by the time he ran in 15, all he was talking about was China.
Yeah. Well, he was right. That was one of the, in Silicon Valley around in 2015, 2016, that was the one thing at that time that you were allowed to talk about. Because you remember, like, Peter was run out of town. You could not talk about Trump at that time, but you could talk about China. Everybody was already keyed into China. And that was one where it was this thing that you would hear, you know, I don't agree with them on everything, but China, which was very interesting at that time. That was, it was like, he was super, super early to it. And I was just thinking while we were watching that clip.
No, everybody was saying it. They were just, again, they wanted the tax breaks. So they found the other, because the Democrats were equally hawkish about China in policy. They just didn't shit talk the people.
Right. That was just before the China stuff happened. China just retaliated.
It was also just before Japan collapsed economically. And he was telling everybody, they're eating our lunch. We'll never be able to recover. They're going to steal all our industry. They're flooding our market with all their shit.
Said they were going to retaliate.
Yeah, they said, but as of coming to air, they hadn't announced what exactly they're doing.
I saw a bunch of.
Yeah, so she's still holding out hope, coming to air, that that China, yeah, they're just fucking.
But the one that stood out the most was they're going after rare earth metals, or they're saying they're going to. What's interesting about that is a strategy that they've been on for decades. Okay, so they're subsidizing their mining facilities and, more importantly, their processing facilities, while we have been regulating our processing facilities. Our EPA makes it almost impossible to process things over here. People think that rare earth metals means they're like super rare. They're all over. We have them in Texas, in California, in Alaska. We just found a huge store of them in Maine. We can't process them. And this trade,
we can process them.
Actually, like, ignore all of the other tariffs. There's one thing with China.
Also, the mining of these things is very toxic. And one of the upsides, and the reason you pay for other countries to do it and buy it from them, is because you can avoid all the toxicity. The cost-benefit analysis in, well, we can do it cheaper here, or we can buy it from them and still have fresh water in our country. That's the trade-off. It's not a straight line monetary thing. Like, it's more expensive to do it here, but we got it, so we might as well dig it up here. No, we'd rather have it. We'd rather have the fresh water if we can. That's where this comes from.
It really does matter, because now it's being used as a weapon against us, because we allowed them to subsidize their industries, and because we didn't tariff in response, because we regulated our own out. They can now hurt us in this way. So yeah, I think on this stuff, he's correct.
Yeah.
No, he isn't. No, he isn't. But this isn't about fucking rare earth minerals coming out of China, you fucking dick. We already started solving this 2 fucking years ago. Mountain Pass, California. That's that place that I drive past when I go back and forth to LA from Vegas and to yeah, I drive by this thing all the fucking time. This is part 4 of a 5 series. I got it. Mountain Pass, California. From the smartphone in your pocket to magnets powering a growing number of electronic vehicles on the road, rare earth elements are foundational components for some of the most commonly used technology. But over the last 3 decades, Beijing, blah blah blah. Let's see, 2 different rare earth minerals. Okay, there are several reasons why it's been difficult to sustain this kind of operation in the United States. However, on a top of a mountain in the Mojave Desert in the United States' largest rare earth mine, MP Materials is trying to reverse that trend with the scale and capability of their facilities. MP Materials is trying to become a magnet champion in the Western Hemisphere, said Matt Slaughter. What we're trying to do is build a full magnetic supply chain, and we want to be able to make all the necessary materials and recycle the necessary materials to have the magnetic supply chain. That's from these. Okay, so We're months away from producing refined products. It's really exciting. Second stage of production starts with the process of drying, roasting, leaching, and purifying the mixture of rare earth concentrate explained. Then the rare earths are fed into one of several towering tanks located in a building longer than an American football field. In these vats, a solvent extraction process separates the mixture into individual rare earth oxides. Although it's just one refinement facility competing against multiple in China, its opening markets marks a crucial step in the United States' effort to address its vulnerable rare earth supply chain. In 2020, the Department of Defense invested $10 million into the $200 million project, according to Pentagon press release. MP Materials will focus on refining a compound of neodymium, neodymium. I'm going to go with that, and praseodymium. Yeah, sure. It's pronounced.
I love layup.
And yeah, so light rare earths, heavy rare earths, blah 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 blah. Okay. The other thing is, let's go back to here and this, and you go to boink. This is here you go. Biden-Harris administration takes further action to strengthen and secure critical mineral supply chains. This is all happening now. 120 billion investments in battery and critical mineral supply chains. Battery materials processing and manufacturing, over 3 billion plus across 25 projects through the bipartisan infrastructure law to extract, process, and recycle critical minerals and materials and manufacture key battery components, as well as support next generation battery manufacturing combined with first round of battery material processing. There you go. So this announcement supports a whole of government effort to build an end-to-end domestic supply chain for electric vehicle and grid storage batteries, supporting responsible domestic mining. Department of Energy office issued a $2.26 billion conditional commitment for lithium processing for the fully permitted Thacker Pass lithium mine in Nevada, which will produce enough lithium to power more than 800,000 EVs annually when operational. By the time it's about halfway there, we won't be using lithium anymore, so it'll meet its goal earlier. Department of Energy Loan Programs Office issued $700 million to Rhyolite Ridge for lithium processing to produce enough lithium there. Department of Defense awarded Albemarle $90 million through the Defense Production Act to support the restart of the Kings Mountain lithium mine in North Carolina. Like, these are all, this is the mine to magnet supply chain for rare earth. They talk MP Materials, which is the one in the past. They got $45 million for the extraction and for processing, $288 million to Linus USA to establish commercial scale rare earth oxide production. Down the supply chain, the Department of Defense has invested more than $94 million in EVAC magnets. There's a facility in South Carolina, as well as metals that allow EVAC metal alloys. EVAC also disclosed that it was allocated $112 million through the Inflation Reduction Act 48C tax credit to support its manufacturing facility. This has all been going on. This is we know this. This isn't a fucking we didn't go, oh shit, the Chinese are here, and then just all fucking run out of the room and try to make up, pretend we done our homework. And by the way, do you think this asshole knows this or
getting this in? China has responded. China's finance ministry said it will match his plan for 34% tariffs on goods from China with its own 34% tariff on imports from the United States. I mean, literally, like, we almost send them nothing. That's like, okay, but Trump's not wrong. We import from China so much more than they import from us. They're like,
right. That's why we have a trade imbalance. And it's not because that market, it's because we have more money to buy shit. Even as big as their market is, we have more money.
Screw you. We don't want to depend on you at all. Here's the second thing. Separately, China's Ministry of Commerce said it was adding 11 American companies to its list of unreliable entities, essentially barring them from doing business in China.
I'm enjoying her lavender rubber phone cover straight from the iPhone store. It's nice to know that she's a basic biatch.
Chinese companies. I mean, isn't this good? I anchored a presidential debate at which we were pressing every single candidate up there about whether their companies had done business with China, why they did business with China. Because if you do business with a Chinese company, you're doing business with a CCP.
Xi Jinping. Yes, you have to. That's how it works. That's why when we talk about TikTok and we're like, this is a Chinese company, you're run by the CCP. That's how it works when you are doing business in a communist country. And it just, you know what it reminds me? Like, right. All the other tariffs aside, again, and I think...
Wait, does anybody know what Trump just did with TikTok? Yeah, if you're supportive of TikTok, you're doing business with the Chinese government. Okay, let's see. What did he do? He extended... Yeah. Trump extends TikTok deadline for the second time. I like TikTok. 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 We gotta give TikTok. TikTok. TikTok paddywhack. What an asshole.
Almost do have to decouple them because we're just in the beginning of the negotiations there. But on China, for them to be like, we're retaliating in this unprecedented active trade war.
Yeah.
Do you know how many tech companies are banned in China? It's like Google, YouTube, Wikipedia, Twitter, Facebook,
Whoa.
the whole industry.
No, right. No. They are banned based on content, not the companies setting up shop there, because those companies won't set up shop there because they'll have their shit stolen. That's different. And again, that's not a tariff thing. That's and unless we're going to have are we having e-tariffs now? Like, you don't let YouTube into your country and therefore deny us the ad rev from your country. So therefore, we're going to hit you with a tariff on that.
Just tariffed. It's an embargo. They have been waging trade war against the United States.
It's not a trade war. That's a propaganda war. They don't let outside media into their country. That's part and parcel to being a communist country. Like, that's why none of these countries, if they do go in there, they shut down parts of it, and it becomes a big story in the United States that Google and others, remove stuff about, I don't know, they're like Chinese atrocities in Vietnam, or the expansion of the Han Chinese and putting somebody in every Uyghur house as they sterilize Uyghur women and put people in re-education camps. Like, you can Google that and look it up. That's why Google's not in China, because you can Google it. Honestly, one of the worst things you can do in China is Google something. It will get you in deep shit.
Obviously, or in the case of the rare earth metal strategy, sort of quietly for decades. Well, we've thought we're just playing along. And now one person says this is unfair, and they're grasping their pearls. It's like when an Islamicist blows something up, and then everyone says, hey, it seems like there's a problem with Islamicism. And they're like, that's violent rhetoric. Right. It's like, well, what about the violence? Then right. That's kind of how I feel with the
This is Islamicism. Yeah, it's exactly like that. Trade, suicide bombers. What's the difference?
Trade stuff. It's just ridiculous that I have to sit here.
It's ridiculous. I know less about that than I know about trade. Okay. Why do you people ask me these questions? I was like, I don't know. Just chill, okay? Stop.
And take it seriously.
I'm excited to see what Trump can do. And I understand people they're feeling uncertain because they rely on their 401ks. You got retirees who have...
Yeah, they do. You don't, Megyn, because you're a multimillionaire. And you can take a hit to your fortune, and it won't fucking matter. I guarantee whatever her multi-million-dollar house is, she owns it free and clear. I guarantee the only cars that she hasn't paid cash for, she leases for the tax break.
Fixed income, I get all of that. But
no, you don't. No, you don't. You don't get what it's like to live on a fixed income, lady.
You just have to hold the line. That's what Trump is asking. I believe that he will do something to watch out for the most vulnerable. Like last time he did that when certain farmers got hit on his trade, on his tariffs in Trump 1.0. Now it was government, quote, handouts. But if he's going to take away.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was fucking communism, lady. Also, if you don't mind. Yeah, he did a lot to help the farmers. Lawmakers want to know why a Brazilian-owned company got payments from a program aimed to help American farmers weather President Trump's trade war. He looks out for the underprivileged people. He walked over and he was like, "Oh, hello there." The Trump administration confident that the Chinese government will follow through on its agreement to buy more American agricultural. Narrator: it turns out they wouldn't. which President Trump created to ease the economic hardship on rural America, which constitutes a large portion of his political base, was meant to be a financial lifeline for struggling farmers, has been widely derided by critics as a corporate bailout for big agricultural companies who and those who live in metropolitan areas but own farms in rural America. By the way, Bill Gates owns a lot of farmland, and they bitched about that to no end during Trump's term and during Biden's term. And remember, like, oh my God, Bill Gates is buying up America's farmland. He got bailout funds. He got yeah, those funds went to Bill Gates. America. The program has also been attacked for providing financial support to American subsidies to American subsidiaries of foreign agricultural companies that operate in the United States. For months, a bipartisan group, a bipartisan group of lawmakers has been pressing the Trump administration to explain payments to a Brazilian-owned company with a troubled past. About $67 million in bailout funds was given to JBS USA. We covered this at the time. The subsidiary of JBS SA, a Brazilian company that's the world's biggest meat processing firm. Lawmakers have argued that a company with foreign-held ownership should be getting more scrutiny, particularly one that encountered legal troubles 3 years ago. In 2017, two of JBSSA's former top executives, brothers Wesley and Josely Batista, pleaded guilty to corruption charges in Brazil. You want some American bailout money? Megyn Kelly says to everybody who thinks you shouldn't, that you should just chill. Just chill. He's going to work it out.
Going to have to be in a position to replenish just to get us through the hard period if it gets that bad.
If
not into government handouts, but my point is, like, if we're going to actively hurt our own farmers, they may need help just to get them through the bridge. Whatever, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, what if it's not farmers? What if it's like every elderly person in the country?
I believe he's not just going to let Americans suffer. The whole point of doing this is to make Americans prosper.
Right.
No, it's so that his buddies who missed out on the COVID pandemic collapse and didn't buy in at the time can get another bite at the apple. They're sitting on cash for a reason. They knew he was going to do this. They sit out, they wait for the market to go down, and then he slowly or at some point removes his tariffs. And the idea is that somehow at some point the market will recover and they can make trillions of dollars.
Reshore manufacturing is what he says. I think there's like, are we doing trade deals or are we reshoring American manufacturing? I don't know that they're not antithetical, but like, I don't know that they're the same strategy. I'm willing to just sort of wait though. And then on the,
let me guess, you're not, you don't work in manufacturing. Let me guess, you're willing to wait because for a living, you write stories about this stuff and your job is to fillet the president.
You just mentioned something, you're not into government handouts. I agree. But this is the complicated the puzzle is that China really is. And so if you're competing on a global stage, and you have China massively subsidizing industry and blocking American industry from competing.
Yes, the only way you can have free market capitalism when you're fighting against communism with a veneer of free market capitalism over top of it is to become more communist. Just say it.
You do. Like, it's not it's not like, oh, be a capitalist. Europe is doing the same. Europe, massive fines on American companies. Like, that's not a capitalist system. So what is
Yeah, it is. If you want to start a company in any of those countries, you need capital to do it, either your own or borrowed or invested from someone else. What the country does to protect the internal structure of its economics has nothing to do with the internal economic structure itself. You can be free market, fair market, or zero trade and still have a capitalist system inside your country. It is not capitalism's job in any way to interact with other markets just because, it's like saying, well, you're single now, so you have to fuck everybody, right? That's what he's saying. That's, now that you're divorced, it's you have a responsibility to fuck everyone because, are you really free of your relationship if you're not, fucking everybody all at once?
Correct way to navigate if your competitor is massively subsidized by one of the wealthiest countries in the world. And it's like, I don't think the protectionism stuff is so crazy when that's the terrain. It's just like, I think it's a different set of rules.
Well, we have a big, beautiful body of people from whom to buy and sell goods right here in the United States.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's one of his goals. He's not cutting off all trade. He doesn't want to cut off all trade with all foreign countries.
No, he told you that? He doesn't want to cut off all trade. He just wants to raise the cost of those goods for the average consumer.
He's playing some hardball. And I heard an assessment on this morning's The Daily from their European correspondent suggesting, look, it may actually end with Europe before it even begins. They'll come to Trump. They'll strike a deal. The Europeans are feckless and have no power and no backbone. I'm sorry, but it's true.
Okay. Never mind just kind of the abstract weirdness of that assumption. Racist. As someone of largely European background, my ancestors would say, "Fuck you, lady, you cuntje." So if you're talking about like feckless leaders in regard to what shit you didn't agree with on COVID, or agreement with Biden over things, or that they back down, maybe you're talking about Germany slow walking their removal of Russian oil over time. But I mean, when the shit hits the fan, the Europeans lock fucking down, and they can unify and screw a lot of markets. And there's a lot of tech, a lot of very high tech shit that comes through Europe. IKEA moved a big chunk of its production to the Czech Republic. What do you think that's going to do to price? That's European prices. That's and believe me, they don't need America to sell IKEA stuff. There's the entire, like, all of Southeast Asia is a market waiting for that stuff because the price isn't that high, and compared to the United States, they'd have a higher profit margin on it. It's like she so much.
Lovely place to visit. But I think they will come hat in hand and try to work something out with him. And
if they don't, and how many more days of this can we take if they don't? How many more days? How many more days, Substack? What do you think? I think Monday's the off with his head day. I think Tuesday is when a bunch of these go into effect, and then that's when he's got to shit or get off the pot. And if they haven't repealed a big chunk of them to normalize the market, everybody's going to be going, like, his phone's going to be ringing off the fucking hook with, like, you're going to destroy the auto industry. You're going to destroy what little manufacturing we have. You're going to destroy the fucking oil industry because we need some of the electronics they use in mining, for example. He wants to lower the price of oil. Well, it's collapsing because of recession fears now. And there was already a glut. Hi, Supreme 90X. So hold on, I realized I didn't have my the Substack window open, so I couldn't see what you guys were saying about this in here. So Monday, end of day, Tuesday, Thursday, you think? Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's like Monday, Tuesday, it really reaches a fucking fever pitch. But I think his ego, I mean, the man skipped a fucking soldier dignified transfer to go golfing. So the idea that he's going to suddenly learn how to give a fuck about anybody else between now and then is ridiculous. But if the news gets bad enough and it's hanging around his neck and he doesn't start believing, like, yeah, it's good, it'll totally turn around. Folks are going to tell him, like, no, some of this will be gone for good, and they'll blame you.
Mexico and Canada didn't get this particular round of sanctions or tariffs. They got an earlier round and actually are already changing their behavior. So it's Asia.
Yeah.
It's Asia really that we have to watch.
You mean where most of the goods from Walmart come from?
All of it. I saw Vietnam also made a bunch of they changed a bunch of their tariffs around. I don't
anticipating
know.
this.
Yeah, like who knows what.
But they were making a point about Vietnam and these other places, which is when Trump dropped the tariffs on China first time around, China outsourced its manufacturing plants to countries like Vietnam.
They do that in Mexico too.
So that they wouldn't be hit by the tariffs we put on China. So they've been doing an end around Trump. And that's why he did a sweeping, like, now it doesn't matter if you moved it to Vietnam, we're getting them too.
Yeah, I think it's really...
First of all, asshole, no. That's not why at all. Apple and other companies, American companies, moved their shit out of China to avoid the use of slave labor, and they couldn't afford to move it fully to Mexico, so they shifted their factories to Vietnam. One of the biggest ones that they were building was in Vietnam. That's where they were going to move it to, because it ain't China, but the labor costs are similar, and so they could maintain price point until such time as they could create a fully automated factory in North America. And that's that whole $500 billion that China that Apple's going to invest in the United States. Let me tell you, it's going to be one big fucking iPhone vending machine. They are doing everything they can using automation and AI to eliminate people at all from the assembly of their devices. And it's not going to be like, oh, we're bringing back American jobs that were taken by the Chinese. They never existed when NAFTA started. This kind of computer assembly that we're seeing, or even smartphones themselves, didn't exist at the beginning of NAFTA at all. One of the reasons we have smartphones is because the scale of making something like that, the labor costs at the time were so intensive that it was an impossibility. If you invented the fucking smartphone in the late 90s, you'd be like, this is amazing. But if we make 100,000 of them would bankrupt the fucking country, and there's not a network strong enough for the data we need. But when the price started to come down and you could reach MVP, minimum viable product, which is what the first iPhone was, it was the lowest res version of it that they could possibly put out that was actually functional. It was only financially possible for the consumer because it was as dense as any home computer up at that point. The only way you could lower the price where people could actually afford one to use was to have it made someplace else, because even the automation wasn't up to speed yet. It's going to be, but by that time, it won't be about jobs anymore. There's going to be a giant fucking glowing, humming plant on the edge of town that I don't know, maybe they pay energy for the city plus an extra fee to have their facility there to get the energy, because your little town doesn't require all the energy that its plant produces. So your whole town stays this small so that the plant can be there. And then the plant pays the people of the city a fee for being there. That's basically their salary to live on. The phones are close to free, so the cost goes down to next to nothing. And the only way you make money is, I don't know, fucking whittling. It's the Etsy economy, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready.
In Mexico, because we have especially great trade deals with Mexico, and so that, yeah, it's like that. I think, listen,
we have especially great trade deals with Mexico. What do you mean, the USMCA? Holy fuck, this guy knows less about this shit than he thinks he does, and according to him, he knows nothing.
I don't know. Again, can't make me care about tariffs. I'm gonna just like chill out and see how it goes.
I'm caring mildly based on this conversation, but like, that's it, mildly.
But
sorry, this whole conversation with this dude who's shrugging the whole fucking thing off has actually taken her from not caring to mildly worried. Maybe it's dawning on her. Is that a possibility?
Like, we'll see. I
That's
think it's fine to...
Yeah, totally. We'll see. Let's stop. You guys need to stop. You need to just stop. We'll see. I mean, what do you all like who like shops and buys and eats food, that they get from a place? Like, who does that? Like,